Hey everybody. So today we're going to talk about and demonstrate a popular kind of drawing method that is commonly used for meditation and relaxation, and that method is called tangles. It is also popularly known as Zen tangles. Are actually uh, Zen tangles is actually the name brand of a group that put that together, but it's also just known as tangles across the board. So we're going to look at how that works and some basic ways to put it together. And the concept with Zen tangles is it is all about making sure that you just kind of go with the flow. So pretty much the materials I'm going to show you right now, they're whatever you want to use. It doesn't have to be these exact things. Generally, when we Zentangle, we use some kind of a pen. I'm just using a Papermate Flare pen today just because I like the bold line. If you don't have a Papermate Flare pen and you just have a ballpoint pen or whatever kind of pen you happen to have, no worries, you're good. We're really loosey-goosey about this stuff. All right, one of the other things that I have is, of course, a pencil. The pencil is for doing a little bit of shading as we go along. I also have a mechanical pencil just in case I want to get into it. I don't even know if I'm going to use that, though, to be perfectly honest. And I have a tool called a stump. If you don't have a stump, that's fine. This is just what I use. But you can also replace this using a Q-tip. So Q-tips are really easy to get a hold of. If you don't have one, those are easily obtained at the store, of course. So these are some basic supplies. I also have a kneaded rubber eraser, which is like this little putty looking thing that you stretch. You don't need anything fancy like that. A regular eraser is fine, but hopefully you won't even need the eraser because the whole thing about Zentangles is you don't erase. The only thing that I do the erasing for is to bring in some highlights when I feel like it, but even then it's really minimal. The big thing is don't erase. No matter what you do, you don't erase. Because when we talk about Zentangles, it's all about turning those mistakes into something that belongs. All right. So everything that you do should be really part of that picture. So if you make a mistake, it's not really a mistake. You need to learn how to turn it into something. So even though there's a ton of different books out there and videos and tutorials and everything like that, it's really all about what you want to do with this and how you do it. So there are no mistakes, there is no wrong. So lose that idea right now because really it's just not there. So the first thing we want to do is just draw some kind of a box, or not a box, but a square. All right, now mine's a pretty loosey-goosey wild thing. You can make yours more perfect if you want, but the point here is it's not perfect. I'm just doing this little one to start with because it's easier to start with little ones and then move on. I've seen people do really big ones. I've done really big ones, but generally a tangle is meant to be something small, quick, and you do it and you move on, right? So it's really good to help you concentrate or to help you de-stress. It's not meant to be like something that you really focus on for a long time. However, you can. I have a couple pieces that are much larger that took me weeks to work on, and with those, what I did to keep to the Zentangle idea was I broke them up into different little sections, like small sections. They were probably about this big, maybe a little bit bigger, and just did that much in one sitting and then stopped, and then I did another one at another time, and I built up until I had that full thing. So again, it was just these little sections. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is think about what kind of pattern I want to use. And really, it can be anything. There's a lot of filler patterns out there. For me, I'm going to just go with the flow. and make a few lines. One of the things that you want to think about with Zentangles or tangles is whatever you do, you repeat it. If you repeat it, it looks like it's part of the picture and it looks like it's meant to be there. So even just doing something like this, just a couple wobbly lines, because they're repeated, they look like they belong. So now a lot of things you can do is, again, it's patterns. So one of the things I could do right now to make this look interesting is just start and make some circles. How do I come up or decide with what I'm going to do? I just do it. I'm like, okay, I feel like doing a circle, so I'm going to do a circle. Maybe you want to do squares, or maybe you want to do hearts or rectangles or a line, or maybe you don't want to do that at all. Maybe you just want to fill it in. That's okay too. All right, so I'm going to skip and do another one right here, and I think I'm going to add one more line right here, and I'm going to skip and do every other one. If you want to do circles on everyone, go for it. If you want to do your pattern, whatever your pattern is on everyone, go for it. If you want to do triangles, go for it. Whatever it is, do it. Just make sure that you repeat. Okay? That's your main thing, is repetition. If you do it once, do it again. And that is what gets it to be interesting, right? You have that repetition over and over and over again. So I want to do something a little bit different in between. You can do the same thing if you want and keep it there. You can make these lines thicker if you want, whatever you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and take these lines in the middle here, and I am going to do some zigzags. And I'm going to just draw carefully, try not to go over my edges. If I do, I'm going to do that real quick and kind of make a mistake here and go over those edges. Uh-oh, looks a little bit, I don't even know if you guys can see that there, but I'm going to make it a little bit messy on purpose. Okay, so, uh-oh, it went over the edges. So now what, right? So now it doesn't look as perfect as I'd like it to look. So that's okay. We can fix that. So instead of just going, we're going to leave it, what we want to do is go back in and make a line that's a little bit thicker. Cover that up. And because I did that on that side, I'm going to go ahead and do it on the other side to make it look like it belongs. And that's not quite thick enough there, so I'm going to thicken that up just a little bit to cover those spots where it went over. And anywhere that it looks like that, I'm going to just cover that over. So now it totally looks like I did that on purpose, right? I wanted it to be thick like that. I wanted it to look like a nice big thick stripe. Perfect. All right, so perfect in imperfection. All right, so once again, because we want to repeat things, I'm going to do the same thing all over again. Make my zigzags. And then I'm going to make my lines a little bit thicker and make it look like it belongs that way. So now I've got that. And see, like right there, I kind of messed that line up, so I'm going to just go back and make it a little bit thicker right over where I messed it up a little. So there is no perfect here, right? It doesn't need to be something that you stress. You just pick it up and go with the flow. So I'm going to zoom this in just a little bit more so you guys can see that better. Sorry for the wonkiness. My devices on an arm so it doesn't flow well. All right, so what I'm going to do now is just decide something else to do. I think I'm going to alternate. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. And again, I'm just going to make a pattern. Now, these are patterns that I'm just making up. There's a lot of patterns out there that you can pick and follow. I'm just making them up as I go. So you don't really have to do that. And I'm going to do some dots over the top. I like to do things in threes. Just odd numbers always feel good to me. So I'm going to just do that. And that looks pretty good on that side. And so I think I'll swing this around and do the other side the same way. And let's see. Make sure that touches down there at the bottom. Pull that up, swing it, swirl it, and just alternate that. And if it goes off the page, pretend that you're following it around and bring it back. And that's okay. All right, so I'm going to do my 1, 2, and it's going to go off the page here. So just as long as I get the idea, we're good to go. And now it looks like it's all the same. Now don't be afraid to move your paper around, that's all good. Now here, I can do a couple different things. I'm going to not fill in any more here. Well, I think maybe just a little bit more. I think I want to add, I like doing circles a lot for some reason. You can do this or not do this. Again, it's all based on what you want. I'm going to just add some in the corners. I don't know, I like the way that feels for filler space right there. And I'm going to do some over here. And this corner is just kind of out a little bit, so I'm going to just add a little filler space right here. Just a little bit. All right, so now I can do a couple different things. I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to just start creating some shade lines. So what I'm doing to do this is very lightly and then just building up in the corners and pulling that forward. So it's very, very light. This is where your Q-tip will come in handy if you have one. And I'm going to just follow that on the other side. And if you have a stump, that's great too. If not, don't worry about it. Q-tips work just fine. Just avoid using your fingers if it's something that's nice and you want to keep. A lot of people blend using their fingers. You can do that, but I don't recommend it because over time the paper will start to yellow where you used your fingers because of the oils. All right, so I'm going to pull this from the other side, and I'm going to just do that on all of these because, again, we want to match. And just keep pulling that. And then I'll take the stump or the Q-tip or whatever it is you want to use for a blending tool. If you're just practicing, I mean, the fingers are fine if you don't have any of those things. If you use a tissue, avoid using the ones with the lotion in them. You could use a tissue as well to blend. And really all blending is like with it, something like this, is just rubbing to make it smoother. And just like that, now we have something kind of interesting looking. Now I could use a stump over the whole thing and do different stuff, but what I'm going to do today is use a little bit of my Flair pens, it's the Papermate, and some Crayola. I have a fancy box of Crayolas, so I could use either one of those. I think I might use the Crayolas in a minute. I'm going to go in with my Flair pens because I'd really like a bit of color. My favorite color is purple. You can use whatever color you want. Actually, I have lots of favorite colors, but purple is one of them. And I'm going to just give, I think, a little shadow of color using my purple right here, right along my edge. I don't know, that just seems like the thing to do. And you can do that or not, or you can color things in however you want. Again, I keep stressing that, and it probably sounds repetitive by now, but the thing is a Zentangle or a tangle is really just all about doing how you want and doing it until it feels right to you. So if you like what I'm doing, good, follow along. Don't worry about getting it exact though, because the beauty is that no matter what you do, that's going to be right. I would just recommend being neat about it. If you think about neatness and just being precise with your work, that's going to really help. Just try to be neat with it. Make sure that your lines go and touch where they're supposed to touch and don't just stop short. Things like that, just being neat about it is really going to help. So you don't have to be perfect, but it is nice to have some neatness there. That really makes a work look better. So even if everything's not perfect, neatness is a really great thing. And I think I'm going to just do some triangles inside of here with my colored pen. And see right here, I'm talking about neatness, and then I leave a space at the top. That's the kind of stuff that you want to fix up when you see it. You don't want to have those spaces. You want it to touch. So make sure that you're really careful with that. And that's going to make it look better is when you do that. All right, so that's kind of cool right there. Let's see. I've told you I would use some colored pencils. So this is called mixed media when you do a lot of different things, and you don't have to do this. You could use all just pencil, but I just am doing this so you see a few different things that you can do with it. So I could do it all in one, or whatever, but I could take it and just kind of add some bits of color to it or whatnot in different medias. I could use all colored pencil. I could use some colored pencil. Markers, if you've got markers, that's another great choice. Markers are great for Zentangles and tangles. I'm just going around my edges just because I like the way that looks. And I'm going to make it a little bit darker in my corners and then gently fade it out. Darker in those corners and gently fade it out just because I like the way that looks. Yeah. And because we're trying to do the same thing, make it similar on two sides, I'll go ahead, or on both sides, I'm going to go ahead and do it on the other side as well. Now, of course, Zentangles don't always look like this. Sometimes they even have pictures in them. If you don't feel like doing that, don't do it. I put trees in them and like done a Zentangle tree, all kinds of different things. So it can be really like whatever you want it to be. There's tons of examples out there. I have a slideshow as well that I will have together for this too. So you'll see that there if you watch the slideshow. If you're watching this without the slideshow, don't worry. You can always look things up. It's pretty simple to find this stuff on the internet. All you have to do is put in tangles, tangle patterns, Zentangles, anything like that, and it's really gonna just pop up there for you. All right, I think I'm going to use this soft pink in the center of these little triangles here. And then I think I'm almost done for at least this demonstration. I mean, I can keep adding details And the more I add, the more elaborate it's going to look and the more interesting it's going to look. So I definitely could keep going on this. Don't limit yourself. Do what feels right to you, and then just stop when it feels right to you. I'm going to stop after I add this pink right here. And the thing is like, when I'm doing this, I'm not really thinking about, gee, what am I going to do next? I'm just thinking, oh, I'm enjoying this part of the process. I'm enjoying putting that color. And then when I get to the next part, I'm like, okay, now I need to think of what to do next. And, and if you do get stumped, because a lot of this stuff I just have in my head now, because there's some different patterns that you can pick up too. Some that are very specific. So a lot of it's just in my head. There's a lot of zigzags, there's a lot of circles, there's a lot of swirls, things like that. And I've seen them over and over again. So when you're first doing this, one of the things that you want to do is make sure that you look up stuff. And then when you get used to it, it'll come to you a lot easier. Almost put the wrong year. All right, so that is a demonstration of a basic Zentangle. You can see they kind of take a while, so that time can go fast. So even when you're doing a small one, it can take a bit of time. But you could do them like quick little things. You don't have to do anything this elaborate if you don't want to. And like I said, they can be much more elaborate than this. So this is just your basic example. Some other patterns you might want to know, just some quick things here, is if you take a square and then you extend one side of the square out and make a rectangle from it. And this is like one of those really basic tangle patterns. You just keep doing that, and it grows bigger and bigger, and it becomes this pattern. And when you want to stop it, you just take it to the end and stop. So you could do something like that. Now that looks a little bit messy right now, so I could clean that up. Just clean my edges up really nicely here. Make sure some of my lines are maybe a little thicker. That looks a little bit better already. And I could go in there with a pencil, because not all Zentangles have to be colored. Just shade a little bit, and do that from the other side maybe. And maybe from here. So as I go around, now I have this basic thing, and I could leave it like that, or I could go back in and smear it out a little bit, which I usually prefer to do. I like the softer look, but you don't have to have that. You can have it where it's a little bit more textury. So that's a really easy one to do. I could color in the center after I was done. And that's an easy something to do. One of my favorites that I saw, it's really like just free. It is a little bit more complicated, but you kind of start with this shape, and then you go back around, and then you just like keep going, and you can do different things. That one I think I did it a little bit strange on this one, but that's okay, because Yeah, this one I didn't do quite right, but that's okay. You can still turn it into something interesting. So even if you don't end up doing that one right, because I think I did that one. What did I do? Yeah, I did that one a little bit backwards. You can still end up with something interesting even if it's not what you plan. So let's see. Yeah, so there's different things that you can do. It's kind of like this open work piece that you can kind of play around with. And you can do different things with that, and it swings back and forth on itself sometimes, depending on what you want to do with it. So, let's see, another thing that's kind of fun is just doing some lines. Then you can just like little things like that, and so that's really simple. So there's tons of different things that you can do. It could even be let's see, 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. So whatever you do one direction, you do it in another. 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, we're gonna stop there because otherwise it'll go into my other one. But you can do patterns like that, and it ends up kind of looking like weaving if you're a little bit neater with it. Like 1 2 3 1 2 3 2 3 1 2 3. So something, oops, you couldn't even see that. I'll do it again over here. So if you're a little bit neater with it than I was on this one, it ends up looking like weaving. And then if you want to do another row, you just do the opposite right above it. And that's just like little lines. So as long as you're doing the opposite of what's there, you're going to end up with like kind of this basket weaving pattern, which is kind of cool for a filler. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end this there, and I'm going to go ahead and put this in and make sure I add this to, upload for you guys to have. I hope this was helpful. I'll be giving you some other information along with this if you want. When I put it in a slideshow, if you end up seeing this without the slideshow, just send me a message and I'll send that to you if you want it. But I hope you all take care, stay safe out there, and enjoy, relax, have some fun. Bye.